I never thought one application could change my entire life. I had stared at that screen for almost an hour, my fingers frozen above the keyboard, my heart beating faster with every second. The words I had typed felt impossible to believe. I was not applying for a normal place. I was applying to live somewhere I never imagined I would belong. A girls' hostel. And the most shocking part of the story is not that I applied. The most shocking part is that they accepted me. For years, I carried a secret part of myself that I was afraid to show the world. Not because I was ashamed of who I was, but because I was afraid of how people would react. I knew there were people who would judge before understanding. I knew there were people who would laugh before listening. But deep inside, I also knew something important. I knew that hiding forever was slowly taking away the person I wanted to become. I had always felt different. Since childhood, there was a side of me that loved expressing myself in ways people around me considered unusual. The clothes, the style, the confidence, the way I imagined myself walking freely without fear. It was not about pretending to be someone else. It was about finally allowing myself to express a part of me that had always existed. But society teaches many people to hide. It teaches them to worry about opinions, comments, and expectations. It teaches them to become what others want instead of discovering who they truly are. And for a long time, I listened to those fears. Every time I wanted to express myself, I stopped. Every time I wanted to explore my identity, I questioned myself. Every time I looked in the mirror and felt happy with my appearance, I immediately remembered all the negative voices around me. But then one day, I asked myself a simple question. What if I spend my entire life being scared? What if I reach the end of my journey and realize I never gave myself a chance? That question changed everything. The decision did not happen overnight. It was not like I woke up one morning and suddenly became fearless. Confidence does not work like that. Confidence is built through small moments. One brave choice. One step forward. One time choosing yourself instead of choosing fear. That was when I discovered the opportunity that would completely transform my perspective. I was looking for a place where I could study and focus on my future. I needed a new environment, a place away from the constant pressure and expectations I had always felt. While searching, I found information about a hostel that had a reputation for being open-minded and focused on student safety and comfort. At first, I laughed at myself. A girls' hostel? How could I even think about applying? My mind immediately created hundreds of reasons why it would never work. People will reject you. People will misunderstand you. People will judge you. But then another voice appeared. The voice that said, "Why not try?" That small voice was stronger than all my fears combined. I spent days thinking about the application. I carefully wrote every answer. I did not want to hide behind fake words. I wanted to be honest, respectful, and clear about who I was. I explained my situation, my goals, and why this opportunity mattered to me. After submitting the application, I expected nothing. Actually, I expected rejection. Deep down, I had already prepared myself for disappointment. I imagined receiving a message saying that my request could not be accepted. I imagined another door closing in my face. Days passed. Every notification made my heart jump. Every email felt like it could change everything. Then one evening, while sitting alone, my phone received a new message. I opened it slowly. My hands started shaking. I read the first line. "Your application has been accepted." For a few seconds, I could not move. I read it again. And again. It was real. The place I thought would never accept me had opened a door for me. That moment was not just about a hostel. It was about acceptance. It was about realizing that sometimes the world is not as closed as we imagine. Sometimes the biggest barrier is the fear we carry inside ourselves. But getting accepted was only the beginning. The real challenge was what came next. Actually stepping inside, meeting people, facing reactions, living honestly. Because applying was one thing, being there was another. The night before moving in, I could barely sleep. My mind kept creating imaginary situations. I imagined uncomfortable conversations. I imagined people staring. I imagined questions I did not know how to answer. But then I reminded myself of something important. I was not going there to prove anything to anyone. I was going there to live. I was going there to study. I was going there to become a better version of myself. And that mindset gave me strength. When I finally arrived, I stood outside the hostel building for a few moments. I looked at the entrance and took a deep breath. This was the moment. A moment I had dreamed about but also feared. I walked inside. And what happened next completely changed my understanding of people. I expected judgment. Instead, I found curiosity. I expected rejection. Instead, I found conversations. I expected walls. Instead, I found opportunities to connect. The first few days were not perfect. I was nervous. I was still learning how to feel comfortable. I was still discovering how to balance my own confidence with respect for everyone around me. And that is something many people forget. Being yourself does not mean ignoring others. True confidence comes with responsibility. It means understanding boundaries. It means respecting the space of others. It means showing that your personality is bigger than any label people try to give you. Slowly, I started building friendships. People started knowing me for my personality, my humor, my kindness, and my goals. Not just one part of me. Not just my appearance. Not just the thing that made me different. They saw the complete person. And that was one of the most powerful feelings I had ever experienced. Over time, I realized something that completely changed the way I looked at acceptance. Many people spend years trying to convince the world to accept them, but sometimes the first person who needs to accept you is yourself. Before entering the hostel, I thought acceptance meant that nobody would ever question me, nobody would ever misunderstand me, and everyone would immediately understand my journey. But life does not work like that. Acceptance is not a magical moment where every person suddenly thinks the same way. Acceptance is a journey where you learn to stand confidently even when everyone does not have the same perspective. The biggest lesson I learned was that confidence is not about having no fear. Confidence is about moving forward even when fear is still there. There were still moments when I felt nervous. There were moments when I entered a room and wondered what people were thinking. There were moments when I heard conversations around me and questioned whether I truly belonged. But every time those thoughts appeared, I reminded myself of the reason I came there. I came there because I deserved the chance to live my life honestly. I came there because my dreams were important. I came there because everyone deserves a place where they can grow. One of the most surprising things was how normal everything became after some time. At the beginning, I thought every day would feel like a huge challenge. I thought every interaction would be uncomfortable. But humans are amazing. When people spend time together, when they share conversations, when they see each other's kindness and struggles, many differences become smaller. The people around me slowly stopped focusing on the thing that made me different and started focusing on the things we had in common. We talked about studies. We talked about future plans. We laughed about random things. We shared food. We helped each other during stressful days. And those simple moments taught me something powerful. Connection is built through understanding, not through assumptions. A lot of crossdressers and people who express themselves differently live with a fear that they will always be seen as something unusual. They think they will always have to explain themselves. They think they will always have to defend their existence. But my experience taught me that your entire identity is not limited to one aspect of yourself. You are not only your appearance. You are not only your style. You are not only what people notice first. You are a complete human being with dreams, emotions, talents, and a story. The day I truly understood this, I felt free. I stopped trying to constantly prove myself. I stopped worrying about every single reaction. I started focusing on becoming a better person. And that is the message I want every person watching this video to remember. Do not wait for the world to give you permission to respect yourself. Do not wait for everyone to understand you before you believe in yourself. Your confidence cannot depend completely on other people's opinions. Of course, kindness and respect from others matter. Everyone deserves dignity and safety. But your own self-worth has to start from within. During my time at the hostel, I also learned the importance of preparation and responsibility. Many people think confidence means doing whatever you want without considering anyone else. That is not confidence. Real confidence comes from maturity. If you are entering a new environment where people do not know your story, the way you present yourself matters. The way you communicate matters. The way you treat people matters. Respect creates comfort. Kindness creates trust. Good behavior creates acceptance. I learned that being different does not give anyone an excuse to disrespect others, and being different does not mean you cannot create positive relationships. One day, I had a conversation with someone who told me something I will never forget. They said, "At first, I did not understand your situation, but after knowing you, I realized you are just another person trying to live a happy life." That sentence stayed with me, because sometimes people are not against you. Sometimes they simply do not know you yet. Fear often comes from unfamiliar things. But conversations can replace fear with understanding. That is why sharing stories matters. That is why representation matters. That is why people who feel different should not always hide their experiences. Your story might give courage to someone who is silently struggling. Someone watching this video might be sitting alone right now, feeling afraid, feeling confused, feeling like nobody could ever understand them. And if that person is listening, I want them to know one thing. You are not alone. There are many people around the world who have faced similar fears. Many people have spent years hiding parts of themselves because they were afraid of rejection. But every person deserves the opportunity to understand themselves. The journey may not always be easy. There may be difficult conversations. There may be moments of doubt. There may be people who do not understand immediately. But that does not mean your journey has no value. My experience at the girls' hostel was not a story about a building. It was a story about courage. It was about taking a chance when the result was uncertain. It was about discovering that sometimes the door we think is locked is actually waiting for us to knock. Looking back, I realized the biggest change was not the acceptance letter. The biggest change happened inside me. Before that day, I was always asking, will they accept me? After that day, I started asking, do I accept myself? And that question changed everything. Because when you truly accept yourself, you walk differently. You speak differently. You stop apologizing for existing. You start building a life instead of hiding from one. The journey also taught me that every person has their own challenges. Someone might look confident from the outside, but still be fighting battles nobody knows about. That is why kindness matters. You never know what someone is carrying. A simple, respectful conversation can completely change someone's day. A simple act of understanding can make someone feel seen. And sometimes, feeling seen is the first step toward healing and growth. My experience also changed the way I viewed society. I realized that progress does not happen because everyone suddenly agrees. Progress happens because people are willing to listen. It happens because someone chooses courage over fear. It happens because someone decides to share their story. And every person who chooses honesty helps create a world where the next person does not have to struggle as much. That is the power of one decision, one application, one moment of bravery, one step toward becoming yourself. When I think about that first day again, I still remember the emotions, the nervousness, the uncertainty, the thousands of thoughts running through my mind. At that moment, I had no idea that one decision would teach me so many lessons about confidence, acceptance, and being true to myself. Before that experience, I always thought courage belonged to people who were naturally fearless. I thought confident people were born that way. I believed some people simply had the ability to stand in front of the world without caring what anyone thought. But I was wrong. Courage is not something you are born with. Courage is something you build. It is built every time you choose honesty instead of hiding. It is built every time you take a step even when your hands are shaking. It is built every time you decide that your happiness is worth fighting for. For many people who enjoy crossdressing or expressing themselves differently, the hardest battle is not with other people. The hardest battle is often inside their own mind. The constant questions. Am I normal? Will people understand me? Will I ever be accepted? Will I always have to hide? Those questions can become heavy when someone carries them alone for years. But one thing I learned is that your journey does not need to look like anyone else's journey. Everyone discovers themselves at a different pace. Some people understand themselves early. Some people need years. Some people take small steps. Some people take big steps. There is no single timeline for becoming comfortable with who you are. The important thing is moving forward with honesty and respect. Another lesson I learned was that presentation matters, but confidence comes from much deeper than appearance. Clothes can express a part of who you are, but they are not the whole story. The most attractive thing about any person is not only how they look, it is how they treat others. It is their confidence. It is their kindness. It is their ability to make people feel comfortable around them. When people see your character, they stop seeing only the surface. That was one of the biggest changes I noticed. At first, people noticed what was different. Later, they noticed who I was. And that difference changed everything. I also learned the importance of finding supportive spaces. A positive environment can help a person grow. Being around people who encourage you, respect you, and allow you to be yourself can make a huge difference. But even when supportive spaces are not available, you can still start building confidence within yourself. Sometimes the first safe place you create is inside your own mind. A place where you stop insulting yourself. A place where you stop judging yourself. A place where you allow yourself to learn and grow. That internal acceptance becomes the foundation for everything else. I want everyone watching this to understand something important. Your life is bigger than the opinions of strangers. People will always have opinions. Some will support you. Some will misunderstand you. Some will judge without knowing your story. But you cannot spend your entire life trying to control every person's thoughts. You can only control your actions. You can control your kindness. You can control your effort. You can control the respect you show to others. And when you live with those values, you create your own confidence. My journey inside the hostel also taught me that unexpected places can become the places where we discover ourselves. Sometimes we search for a place where we belong, but the truth is that belonging is something we also create. We create it through relationships. We create it through trust. We create it through being genuine. I never expected a girl's hostel application to become such an important chapter of my life. I thought I was only looking for accommodation, but I found something much bigger. I found a stronger version of myself. I found the courage to stop running away from my own identity. I found the understanding that being different is not the same as being wrong. And I found a lesson that I will carry forever. Never underestimate the power of one brave decision. One email can change your future. One conversation can change your perspective. One person can change your confidence. One moment of courage can open a door you thought would never open. If you are someone watching this who feels afraid to express yourself, remember this. Do not rush your journey. Do not compare your life with someone else's. Do not feel pressured to prove yourself every single day. Learn. Grow. Stay respectful. Protect your peace. And take steps that make you feel proud of the person you are becoming. The goal is not to become someone else. The goal is to become more comfortable being yourself. Because at the end of the day, everyone is searching for the same thing. Everyone wants to feel accepted. Everyone wants to feel understood. Everyone wants to feel like they belong somewhere. And sometimes the first person who needs to give you that feeling is yourself. Years from now, I may forget many small details of that time. I may forget some conversations. I may forget some ordinary days. But I will never forget the feeling of reading that acceptance message. Because that moment represented something much bigger. It represented hope. It represented possibility. It represented the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where I stopped asking permission to exist. A chapter where I started believing that my dreams mattered. A chapter where I finally understood that being authentic is not about fighting the world. It is about finding peace within yourself. And that is the message I want to leave with you. Your story matters. Your feelings matter. Your dreams matter. Do not let fear write the ending of your life. You are the person holding the pen. Every day gives you another chance to write a new page. So take that chance. Learn about yourself. Respect yourself. Respect others. And never forget that the most powerful version of you is the one who has the courage to be real. Because sometimes the door you are most afraid to open is the door that leads you to the life you always wanted. And sometimes the biggest surprise waiting on the other side is not the acceptance of others. It is finally accepting yourself.